When I travel everywhere, I do plein air watercolors all the time. So to me, this ability to truly sit in a place for a few hours and feel its energy, listen to bird songs and feeling the wind on my face and in my hair and just kind of smelling the sometimes stinky waters of Venice, for instance. It's such a huge part of being there because, as my friend and mentor, she's a native Indian of Métis origin in Canada, said that once you're in a certain place for a while, you start seeing that to the universe, we are no different than a bear or a mosquito, and that plants and rivers and us, we're all relatives, all equal siblings, and it is such a humbling and healing feeling to realize that it's not all about us, that we're just tiny specks in this universe. And I get to that state of truly seeing the energy of the place and feeling it when I allow myself to sit. So walking through and snapping a quick photo, or even truly concentrating on getting a really nice shot, is not the same, because when I work from a photo, it has a lot of detail, but it doesn't have that feeling. It doesn't have that energy that I'm catching with my watercolors. So I work from my watercolors when I translate things into oil on canvas. I have some reference photos for certain things that I might have forgotten, but for the most part, I want to get across that sense of immediacy and expression. And the fact that there are drips in the painting and a mixture of oil and wax, it really translates that feeling of things being equal and melting into one another. After a certain point, you really start feeling like it's all one and the same. The sky, the buildings, the water, everything just sort of lives as one. Venice is such a complicated subject because I've been to Venice 7 or 8 times, and as soon as you get on a boat, whether you're coming from the airport or the train station, there's that feeling of awe, like, oh my God, is this even real? But then at the same time, when you allow yourself to truly look deeper, you start noticing that it is such a fragile city, that there are cracks in every single foundation. The hope is that by focusing on an image of Venice that is not necessarily pretty, with the decaying walls and the paint stripping off of buildings, that it'll demonstrate at the same time how much of a muse it's always been throughout the centuries to creatives from different fields, writers, composers, artists, fashion designers, but also ignite this spark in people in terms of wanting to conserve it and wanting to truly have it be there 100 years from now, 200 years from now, and not just exist in our memories. So I start with the plein air watercolors, like I mentioned, and then I try to base the oil paintings, for the most part, on those immediate watercolors that I had created. And it's a mixture of oil, pigments, and wax. And the reason why I use wax is because I love this feeling of the world being textured. And I think everything has its own texture, and what wax does is it creates that very expressive look. And using wax has been around since the early Romans, and it's called encaustic. But I thought, well, why does it have to lay flat if I really want this balance throughout? So it was a very personal and unique element to use cold wax and mix it with oil pigments. A very high quality. I use Japanese oil pigments that are highly saturated, And then what the wax does is it subdues them a little bit, but also adds texture and lessens the drying time, which I love because then I could work on things quicker. I really love the use of gold leaf because when you're out, there's that incredible sense of a shimmering light that passes through buildings and water, and it equalizes everything. Our structures that we build coexisting with the water and the skies and just that incredible landscape that Venice in particular is built within is all being put together and harmonized through light. And I think gold leaf is incredible because it shows up very differently throughout different times of the day. When my collectors have these pieces with gold leaf in their homes, it's amazing how different it looks from day to night. When you're really up close to the paintings, it almost translates into an abstract painting or sections of abstract paintings throughout. And the drips are super important because they are those very heartfelt drips of emotion almost. I also paint by flipping the canvas sideways every half hour, regardless of how large it is. And I think what the drips do is they also create that balance throughout and truly show that the water is just as important as the doorways and the windows. And they blend it all into this one complete composition. I started getting these visions because I wanted to be a fashion designer when I was 5. And I kept on drawing these little models on paper napkins, and my grandpa would critique them. But then when we moved to the States from Moldova when I was 13, I kind of just let that go. So it was weird to me that all these visions started coming to me of all these outfits I would wear and travel in, and people would find really interesting and unique. And at first I wasn't paying attention, but they just would not go away. So with the fashion line, this idea of conservation and sustainability is really key. I wanted to make sure that production is really controlled and it's in limited quantities, and also that there's no waste. So not only have I been creating things in limited editions, but also making sure that I work with a tightly knit team that uses German software that truly adjusts everything and controls production so that there's not a single inch of fabric that's wasted. I wanted to make sure that they're also either organic or a mixture of organic and recycled materials. I fell in love with tencel, which is processed eucalyptus, and mixing that with organic fabrics like cotton and silk and wool has just been really amazing, because not only are they incredibly soft and luxurious to the touch, and everything is just very natural and is thought through from a conservation point of view. I'm releasing my 4th collection this fall, and people have been really appreciating mainly the fact that the fabrics are based on my art. A lot of the fabric that a lot of the outfits are deriving from the last collection are based on this particular painting on a section right over there that is put on repeat under the bridge. And so it's the painting of Venice that kind of lives on through the fabric, and people are saying that it's just so incredible to feel like you're wrapped in a super soft cloud, because that silk is the most incredible, luxurious silk from Italy, but also feel like you're wearing art, and you're part of the process of conserving Venice.